So let's see, it's May 2024. Me and Bella. I'm Cameo, um, otherwise known as Aggie Carpenter Mom. I was employed by Texas A&M University for 24 years, 1992, 2016, retired in 2022, April Fool's Day, which is pretty funny. I was terminated right before my 50th birthday, early 2016. Anyway, I thought I'd sit down and do a video. I don't know if I can see it, show you. Can you see this place? Maybe. Anyway, whatever. I'm sitting on the stairs of the Glasscock History Building. Yeah, I'm not even making it up. Melbourne G. Glasscock Building. Number 470, across from the pavilion. This is where I was sitting. It would have been before February of 1996, so late 95. I had changed jobs from parking officer to an apprenticeship at A&M, that's U.S. Department of Labor. Carpenter, construction. I didn't even know drills had reverse. I just was harassed at the first job for having red hair and wanted to keep the same insurance and benefits. They've since outsourced the physical plant maintenance type jobs 2012, so you know evidently they don't want to hire anybody that doesn't already have a degree or isn't going in debt for one, because I didn't do the whole university thing, because I noticed that the people that bullied me and did a bunch of backward stuff were the ones with the longest titles or the most certifications, and I'm like, why don't y'all have integrity? Hello, doesn't lie, cheat, or steal. Anyway, I'm sitting on the stair where I remember taking a break with the rest of the guys that I was working with, and the interim, that is like temporary, the interim foreman was sitting next to me, and there was about 15 people on these stairs, and he said, you better be looking for another job. And I didn't know he was talking to me, and he said it again, and I was like, me? And he's like, yeah, you better be looking for another job, because I'm gonna make you quit. And I was like, wow. I said, well, give it your best shot, because there's not too much you can do to me that hadn't already been done. And when I came in from break, he handed me a sledgehammer, and there was these 14-foot studs. Interrupted by a truck, but anyway, these walls, the sheetrock was off, but the studs are 14 foot. So they wanted me to knock them down. Well, each one took a swing. One swing at the bottom going one direction, one swing at the bottom going the other direction. It'd swing and fall down. So I got that wall taken down. There's a bunch of walls in there. Came back and handed him the sledgehammer. Evidently he didn't think girls knew how to swing a sledgehammer. Well, God works in mysterious ways, because back then I had a wood stove for heat, and I was really good at swinging an axe, so it wasn't very different. And so then he gives me a circular saw with a diamond blade and has me cut a hole through the brick wall for a handicap door. That about wore me out. I worked that job from 95 until 99, and then I switched and took a job at Environmental Health and Safety at Texas A&M University, because they needed a female to inspect the female dorm rooms. Now, I noticed the irony of this. It's like that guy wrote me up for being female and told me he was going to make me quit, didn't care if I could do the job or not. Females didn't belong in the carpenter shop. The men I worked with reported him, but evidently they reported him to the people that were behind it all. Because fast forward to 2016-17, I find the EEOC documents that A&M wrote, and 10 out of the 12 witness statements were lying. And then I put it all together. Oh, okay, so you have all these policies, but you don't actually plan on following them. You just want everybody to think you follow them, so that everybody will behave. But if you want to get rid of somebody for being female or being in the cartoons depicted as a Nazi, you know, I was a parking officer. They called them parking Nazis. You know, What I noticed also is when I worked for Parking and Transit, after that Nazi cartoon that all the kids were like, will you autograph this for me? It was so funny. And of course I have a copy. They restructured transportation and gave it a different name. They didn't want it called PTTS anymore because, you know, I guess they were trying to hide the Nazi thing. But come to find out, there's a POW museum in Hearn where the Nazi officers were held, and A&M is the one that requested that POW camp be there way before I ever paid attention to anything World War II. Who knows? I don't guess A&M wants people to know it was affiliated with anything Nazi, but it sure got, that's when I started getting yelled at for having red hair. And so I switched jobs. After I asked God for a sign if I should change jobs, and a cadet almost ran me over with a car on Coke Street, I still have the letter from the commandant and the apology letter from that cadet. I know exactly what day I applied for the apprenticeship. So I do this carpenter apprenticeship, and there was a 5-ton air conditioner on the roof of the shop, and the guys were telling me about it. They're like, you know, file a complaint, they won't do anything to you. So we did, and they did a heat test that was like 24 hours over 7 days, ridiculous, when we worked 7:30 to 3:30. Anyway, that air conditioner was on that roof the whole time I worked in that shop, and that shop was 90 degrees most of the year. And after I quit and went to the other job, then they cut that air conditioner on. Gee, do you think they were trying to, I don't know, boil me out of there? Who knows? So then they hired me to inspect the female dorms, and for about 16 years, I sat in the same desk watching the men get mentored and promoted, mentored and promoted, mentored and promoted. Until eventually, I went to HR and said, hey, this stuff's happening every 3 months. You think you could let me do my job description? They waited legal number of days, restructured the department, changed my title from fire safety to occupational in February 2014, but didn't tell me till October of 15. I didn't have any certifications or anything to be occupational. I had all the certifications for the fire safety, but they ignored them. I applied for a construction fire safety position in 2007, and James comes in and says, well, you know, the reason you didn't get an interview is because you don't have any construction experience. I'm like, James, I hung the sheetrock in this office. I built the cabinets that are out in the hallway. And in 1999, you hired me from Construction Crew 1 to move. So who you talking to doesn't have construction experience? He backed out and he didn't say anything. I went to the director. That was the year they started writing me up annually for being late to work. Well, basically, they wrote me up annually for being late to work from 2007 until 2015, when all my bi-weekly timesheets were timely. There was no time clock, no actual clock. And, you know, it was like, what are you basing this on? So by them writing me up annually for being late to work, that withheld pay raises and trainings and just left me out of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that went on over the years, and I used to just watch and wonder why I was getting treated the way I was getting treated. You know, I did 4 years of the safety newsletter cartoon. It never got mentioned. It wasn't, I didn't have to do it, you know, but it never got mentioned. I did the cartoon for President Bowen that physical plant gave him, and they asked me to present it, and then at the last minute the VP grabbed it out from behind my arm and went up there and gave it to him from himself, and then they put a picture of him giving my drawing to the president on the front page of the battalion. I was like, well, that's messed up. And when he came down off the stairs, he wouldn't even make eye contact with me. I designed the first parking hang tag. You know, they quit having those after they fired me. Matter of fact, after they fired me in 16, they restructured human resources and retitled it too, because it turns out the VP of finance that was over human resources was also over environmental health and safety. So those 15 written complaints that I submitted that year that kept coming back no valid evidence, even though I sent documentation and data and photos, yeah, he was over my department and HR, so I was reporting his people to him. Of course, he's not with HR anymore, and a lot of those people either got promoted or moved. But I'm the one that wound up getting terminated right before my 50th birthday for work performance. They had like quadrupled my workload. It was just insane what all went on. But, Bill Courtney, he sat right here and told me, I'm going to make you quit. You better find another job. I had no idea he was talking for the whole daggum university. I didn't know. I mean, I was in uniform. I wasn't bothering anybody. I was just wondering what his problem was. There's nothing I can do about being female. Anyhow, at the deposition in 2019, the lawyer for A&M asked me, about settlement. Well, I didn't realize that basically employment law is civil court, and you're supposed to settle out of court so that they don't want to document what businesses use people to do to each other. I wanted a jury trial. I didn't even get a hearing, even though I filed all the documents and everything and jumped through all the hoops and I was fee waiver approved. The daggum federal judge was a 1966 Aggie. I don't know, it's just a lot because I gave them plenty of evidence and didn't do squat with it. So I still have the evaluation where I was written up for being female. I have the audio from 2015 where the supervisor screamed at me for an hour and 11 minutes daring me to file a complaint with HR. I knew she was up to something because she didn't usually act like that. I think it's because she was probably on a work visa and wanted to keep her job. To have people that I've known for 20 years lie about me in these documents to the EEOC. And the thing is they're secondhand documents, so you don't know if HR wrote it or if they wrote it because it's not like signed or anything, so it's technically hearsay. But it's still hurtful to be treated the way I was treated for as many daggum decades as I was treated that way. And, they settled with the professor from TU for $1 million for messing up her interview process for the journalism job. I guess, I don't have a PhD. I didn't have tenure at a different university. I am the only female to finish the carpenter apprenticeship. I like knowing all that carpentry stuff. I wasn't going to go to school and get in debt at a university if it made you lose your integrity. And all the people that bullied me and were awful had a lot of degrees. And I was like, what is wrong with you people? I'm just doing a job, I was a safety inspector. They told me I was too thorough. I would find like the libraries had an extended lock on their egress on all the exits. You couldn't get out. And I was like, what is the deal? Oh, we have it locked like that so they can't steal books. I'm like, well, books aren't life safety. And I looked up the code. It needed to have signage. It needed to be about 2 minutes faster than what it was doing. He's like, oh, we have all the libraries that way. Well, so I come back to the office, and instead of them, giving me an attaboy for figuring all that out, they took it away from me and, we'll take care of this. Same thing with the handicap ramp that's not ADA compliant at Vet Med. And the guy that was doing the daggum trucks was legally handicapped. He had one leg shorter than the other, and he's going in and out on a handicap ramp that wasn't ADA at all. I turned that in. They weren't happy with me about that either. That do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I figured out, it's a criminal offense to have a false inspection date on a fire safety inspection, and the iPad app failed all the time and inserted random dates. I turned in all this stuff and explained it to the state fire marshal. They didn't do jack. I'm like, government. But anyway, I'm just talking and visiting. A&M's pretty. Somebody just spotted my bird, so I better go. And y'all be careful. Gig 'em.